What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Split Decisions. I'm Patrick.
And I'm Justin.
And we're here to break down UFC Fight Night, Tybura versus Spivac 2, taking place at the Apex in Las Vegas. Coming off fresh off the UFC Fight Night Abu Dhabi, Sandhagen versus Nurmagomedov.
Pretty exciting card overall, in my opinion.
Facts.
I thought it was pretty fun.
Decent fight night.
I went on pick-wise. I think there was 13. I went 10-3 on picks, so not bad. A couple of the dogs I personally took didn't come through with Loopy and Dontel Mays. Dontel Mays looked fucking horrible, and Pat was all over Shamil in that one, so good call on him. And then Victoria Dudakova just shit the bed and made Sam Hughes look like an absolute dominator.
30-27 card was crazy in that fight.
Yeah.
One of the judges gave her 30-27. I thought it was pretty clear. Could have went split probably either way, but that second round was the obvious Sam Hughes round. So them judges must have been cooking.
Yeah, there's some exciting fights on there too. With the Davison Figueiredo fight with Cheeto, that was a banger, honestly. The Shera Megomedov fight, Nicole Olenjacek, he can take a punch. That man was literally just staying in there. I'm surprised he didn't fall. The Azamat fight was pretty fun to watch. The Cal Fernandez fight was pretty good.
Chomping at them legs.
Yeah. That even the main event, I mean, Umar kind of stepped up and showed he's not just, a prospect. Like, he's here. He's here to contend in that bantamweight division. Corey is no slouch.
He ready for that title shot at this point because you step up and take on number two, Yeah. You got to give him that title.
And look that good while you're doing it.
Facts.
Didn't have any parlays hit, though. It was kind of rough. I had 3 different parlays where 2 different parlays where I missed by a leg, and then another one was just kind of a crazy prop one.
Yeah, I was riding on that last fight. That I needed Sandhagen by points, and he couldn't come through for me. So cold night, but
right, the split decision counter too.
Split decisions. Justin smacking me on the split decisions.
Another trying to find it. I got it in here.
I think you went 3-1.
The Herbert and Rolando fight. Ja Herbert won that. The Dontel Mays and Shamil fight. Pat was on Shamil on that. The Joe Alvarez Elvis Brenner fight. That was a war.
Alvarez dogged him.
Yeah, and then of course the Umar pick we were split on, but that's just how it goes. Sometimes it just takes one punch either way, and a pick can be right and be wrong.
I was about to say super. Not a good card as far as underdogs went.
No.
About to say every single favorite one besides Sam Hughes. So, good night to lay the chalk. But anyways, we're going to get into this UFC Fight Night. Tybura versus Spivac 2 taking place at the Apex. Go ahead and get into that first fight for him, Justin.
So the first fight of the night, we have Danny Barlow versus Nikolay Veretennikov. This is actually a short notice fight where Danny Barlow was supposed to fight Uros Medic, and Medic had a rib injury, had to pull out. So Nikolay Veretennikov stepped up short notice. Danny Barlow is 8-0, 1-0 in the UFC. He's a big welterweight, standing at 6'2", with a 79-inch reach. He's a southpaw striker with a really good jab, good kicks, good footwork. He made his debut against Josh Quinlan and won with that third-round finish. He does leave his chin up in the air whenever he's exchanging, which makes me nervous every time. Not a big fan of that. He is going against Nikolay, who is 12-4. He's making his UFC debut here on short notice. He's 6'1" with a 74-inch reach. He first tried getting into the UFC through the Contender Series, but lost to Michael Morales, who's a stud himself, so I don't hold that against him. Morales is pretty sure he's still undefeated in the welterweight division. He usually starts fast, like real fast, but he looked very timid and low volume his last fight before, coming in here, which it was a first-round KO, but it was like a real early stoppage. Like, he rocked dude, and the ref just instantly jumped in. So take that with a grain of salt. But this fight's a toss-up for me just because both guys are pretty much brand new. One's taken on short notice. The other one we haven't seen much of. Nikolay does have big power, but he's low volume and he tends to wait a lot. Based off what I've seen, I think Barlow is the better fighter. I think he has more tools in his bag and he's more active on the feet. So give me Danny Barlow, probably by decision, but I wouldn't be shocked to see like a KO somewhere throughout this fight. What do you think?
Pretty easy pick for me, man. I think Danny Barlow a prospect to look out for in this division. Super powerful, southpaw striking, great counter striker. I think he's shows solid defense. I see what you're saying as far as keeping his chin up in the air, but pretty decent at just moving his head, getting off the center line. Super accurate at distance. Like you said, coming off that round 3 KO against Quinlan, who super tough guy, hard to get out of there.
Right.
Round 1 KO on Contender Series, so obviously holds power on the feet. Nikolay, haven't really seen much, so low sample size on him. Obviously, he's a debut. Is on a 3-fight winning streak since the Contender Series loss to Michael Morales. So, and if you lose to Michael Morales by decision, obviously you're pretty tough. Right. So I could see him potentially lasting. But my pick is going to be Danny Barlow in this fight. Just see him being a better striker. I'm probably finding a big bonk, to be honest, or just applying the pressure, just more damage, just adding up maybe a late KO or something. But yeah, give me Danny Barlow, and I'm pretty confident on it as well.
Nice. Your next fight is Charalampos.
Next fight, we got Charalampos Gregorio versus Toshiomi K. Both kind of unsuccessful in the UFC so far. Gregorio coming off Contender Series round 1 KO. 0-1 in his debut. Lost to Chad and Helliger, which decent scrappy dude. Not a terrible loss, but still not a super high level. Yeah. Got to lose to, so I wouldn't call it like a great loss. Kazama 0-2 in the UFC. I believe he's coming off the road to UFC. Yep. He's got a good sub bag, but not the best wrestling as far as getting people down. Striking definitely needs some work. Yeah. Coming off 2 straight first round KOs, both by straight shots. So probably has trouble getting that head off the center line. Gregorio does train out of a good camp with, Aljamain Sterling, Charlie Campbell, decent control and takedowns. He is going to be my pick in this fight. Probably get some grappling going. If not, probably just going to be the better striker on the feet as well. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't have much to add to this because, like you said, they're both still pretty new to the UFC.
Facts.
Charalampos won his Contender Series fight as a plus 145 dog. He's a good striker with six out of his 8 wins being by knockout. He actually has a leg kick finish, so it shows he has good power, both in his hands and in his feet. Like you said, Toshiomi, or what is it? Toshiomi? Whatever.
Toshiomi Kazama.
He came off the road to UFC where he lost in the finale. Both his losses are first round finish, both by straight punches. One being the left, one being a right. And it's just wild because those straight punches are just getting him, I guess. But like Pat said, he does have a good submission game with 5 sub wins. So it's like you don't really want to go to the ground with the guy unless you're super confident in your grappling also. But with a little to go off of, I'm keeping this one simple. Kazama, he gets touched up pretty often with those straight punches. And even though he'll have the 1.5 inch reach advantage, I think he's the better, or I think that the better striker is Charalampos, and that's what I'm going to go with. Give me Charalampos by knockout, but I mean, I could just see it randomly going to decision at the same time, just because like this kid, he is tough. But yeah, I'm with you on that too. So the next fight we have Stephanie Luciano versus Talita Alencar. Stephanie Luciano is 5-1-1, making her UFC debut after fighting to a draw as a big underdog in the Contender Series. She's a tough grinder type. She's only 24, and she's only been pro since 2019. So she only has, just a little over 5 years of experience in MMA as a pro. She has 2 ground and pound finishes, so I mean she knows how to finish a fight. She's not just kind of like the lay and pray type. She's fighting Talita Alencar, who is 5-0-1, 1-0 in the UFC. She also fought to a draw in her Contender Series fight. She won her debut against Ray and Amanda by a split decision, but she's only 5'1" with a 58.5 inch reach, so she's tiny. But she is a black belt. She's coming from like the pro jiu-jitsu scene, so she's definitely got, a good ground game. This fight's literally 50-50 in my opinion. I think Talita is going to be the better grappler and Stephanie's going to be the better striker. I think the size and the reach advantage is going to give Talita problems, honestly. I feel like Stephanie's good enough to just stay safe on the ground if it does make it there. But while it's on the feet, she's going to pick apart Talita. So give me Stephanie, and more than likely probably by decision. What do you think?
Uh, this is a hard one to call. These girls have actually already fought before. They faced each other on the Contender Series, and Talita won the first 2 rounds, gassed out completely in the third, and Luciano put it on her, got a 10-8 in the third, and that's what made it a draw. Luciano got the better in the striking exchanges. Talita kind of relies on them takedowns, relies on that control. She is super small for the division. I thought she lost her last fight to Ryan Amanda.
It was close.
Amanda was, I feel like, landing the better shots on the feet. But her cardio did look improved compared to that first Contender Series fight. Luciano is going to have a 7-inch reach advantage. She was taken down and controlled by Talita in that first fight, both rounds, and lost 10-9 on the scorecards. So probably took a lot from that fight. Maybe can probably come out here and make some adjustments. Seeing her as a minus 58, not minus 158 favorite. I don't know if I love it, just because it's probably gonna be a super close fight. Talita as well probably is gonna make adjustments. So you never know what the second fight's gonna look like. Hard for me to pick, but Luciano is gonna be the better striker. So if she can potentially keep it on the feet, I feel like she's going to have her way. But Talita has worked on that cardio. So, and she was having her way with Luciano in that first fight. So if she can just maybe pace herself a little bit better and, not gas out, then she should be okay. Hard for me to pick. I'm going to go with Luciano just because Talita is super small. And I feel like she relies way too much on them takedowns. Striking is not the best. As long as Luciano can keep it on the feet, I think she should be able to get this rematch. So yeah, give me Luciano by decision.
Nice. So your next fight, Yana Santos and Chelsea Chandler.
Another low level women's MMA fight.
This card's packed with them.
Yana Santos, the wife of UFC legend Thiago Santos. Going against Chelsea Chandler, who trains with Nick Diaz out of Stockton, California. Super tough, gritty girl. I'm telling you, the one thing that sticks in my head when I think about that girl is when she took off running. Running away from Dumont.
One of the craziest things I've ever seen during a fight.
Like it was a damn track meet.
Turned around and took off. Luckily, luckily there's a fence there that kept her.
I was about to say, if that cage wasn't locked, she would have been out of that damn cage.
The whole building.
But she is super physically strong for the division. Super big girl. Won her last fight against Josiana Nunes, just being the bigger girl, just kind of used her physicality against a good, powerful striker in Josiana. But Josiana is super small for the division. Yana Santos is going to be a lot bigger, a lot longer. She is on a 3-fight losing streak. Yana Santos is, but good comp and Holly Holm, Irene Aldana, who was just fighting for the title a few fights ago. Karol, Rosa, which I thought that fight was close, and it probably could have went either way. She did have a good win against Ketlin Vieira, who's a decent win in the division. Is about to actually fight Kayla Harrison in her next fight. So I don't hate Santos in this match, but I do think Chelsea Chandler going to be the more physical girl. Could probably get some grappling going. And probably end up just winning a decision off strength alone, just being the bigger, beefier girl and just, using that physicality to her advantage. So give me Chelsea Chandler and give me Chelsea Chandler by decision. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't have much to add to this. The fight that we were talking about, though, was against Norma Dumont, and Dumont had, I'm pretty sure, rocked her, wasn't it? She had rocked her, and then that's what made her turn around and take off. Chelsea Chandler ended up coming back in those second and third rounds and looked good. Like, made it a close fight. It wasn't a runaway.
I was about to say she kind of just ran away so she could get her distance
Like,
back.
regain
But when you
herself.
but when you see,
She literally ran a 40. I don't know if you've ever watched the NFL Combine. She ran
took
a 14-40.
off sprinting.
Crazy. But yeah, like Pat said though, Yana Santos, she is a big girl too. She's also 5'8" with a 68.5-inch reach. Big bralette girl who's used to fighting at featherweight. She's used to fighting in other promotions and organizations up at 145, whereas this fight's going to be at bantamweight at 135. So both of these girls, though, they're going to have trouble making that because, like Pat said, Chelsea's a big girl too. I mean, 5'8", 68-inch reach. When you look at her, she's just broad shoulders, big muscles on her. Like, she's a big girl. Trains with Nick and Nate Diaz. She is from Stockton, so she's got that just tough mentality that you literally would have to disconnect her from reality to get her out of there because she's not going to quit on herself. She throws with big, heavy hands. She has good boxing. She has a good chin for the most part, other than the Dumont runaway situation. So, but yeah, I'm not going to spend much time on it. I think Chelsea is going to be more physically strong and has the youth on her side. It's a tough test for her, but I think she wins. But it's a women's MMA fight. It's a fucking coin flip. Let's be honest.
Thanks.
So my pick is going to be Chelsea Chandler. So that means Yana Santos is probably going to win. So the next fight on the card, we have Karl Williams and Jhonata Diniz. So Karl Williams, 10-1, 3-0 in the UFC, and is on a 7-fight win streak right now. He's standing at 6'3" with a 79-inch reach. He's a big old guy for where they fighting at? Well, no, heavyweight.
I think it's heavyweight.
Yeah, I don't know. I almost said welterweight. He's a pretty well-rounded striker who likes to pop shot his way to a decision win. He's not a wrestler, but he does have wrestling, especially if he knows he needs it. Like, if he's not getting his way on the feet, he does not care to blast, a double or do what he needs to get the fight to the ground. Once he's on the ground, he has very good control. He has a takedown in all 4 of his UFC fights. He has at least 1 takedown. He fights smart, but that means he fights boring. Like, he's not going to put himself in situations to where he can get hurt, but he's also going to do what he needs to do to win a fight. He fought a scary power puncher his last time out in Justin Tafa, and instead of trying to let his ego get in the way and stand and bang with him, instantly shot on that double leg, took him down, and just completely controlled the fight from there. Diniz is 7-0. He is 1-0 in the UFC. All 7 of this man's knockout, or 7 of his wins, are by knockout. He's a big, strong striker, standing at 6'4" with a 79.5-inch reach. He used to be a kickboxer where he had like an up and down career, but since coming to MMA, he has 6 first-round KOs, and he has a second-round KO in his last fight. So really, this fight is tough for me to pick. Experience-wise and the skill set-wise, Karl Williams is going to have the advantage. But when it comes to power, it's definitely Diniz has more power, I think, in his hands. My pick is going to be Karl Williams just because his fight IQ. I feel like where he fought somebody in Justin Tafa, his last fight, that he knew could put his lights out with 1 punch. He didn't mess around. He kind of did what he had to. He threw strikes. Like, it wasn't completely boring, but he took him down. Takedowns in all 4 fights. Give me Karl Williams. More than likely by decision, unless this Diniz dude just gives up on himself and Karl Williams gets like a ground and pound TKO finish. What do you think?
Yeah, my pick's going to be Karl Williams as well. 3-0 in the UFC, has dealt with this dangerous striking style before. Right. Like you said, he's not a dummy. He knows what his strength is, and that's the wrestling. He wants to get that wrestling going. He has solid wrestling, but not super dangerous on top. Just kind of position over finish. Once he gets you down to the ground, he's not rushing to get no submission. He's not, posturing up and raining down no ground and pound. I mean, he's just gonna lay on top of you and he's gonna win the round.
Right.
Super slow on the feet. Do not like his striking at all. If this fight gets stuck on the feet, then he's gonna have some
Yeah,
issues.
he's got a good jab though. Like his
Uh,
jab's strong, but that's
yeah,
about it.
but kind of gets labored later in the fights. Jhonata Diaz, 1-0 in the UFC, that kickboxing style, super dangerous striking, coming off contender series knockout, debut KOs, round one and round two. Um, the only question I have in this fight is his takedown defense. I mean, if he can keep it on the feet, he's obviously going to be the side, but I can trust Karl to just stick to the game plan, go for takedowns, stay out of trouble, and probably win a boring decision. So, yeah, give me Karl Williams by decision.
The next one is Karol Rosa, and was it Penny?
Yeah,
Kianzad?
Kara Hosa, 6-3 in the UFC versus Pannie Kianzad, 5-5 in the UFC. Um, Pannie Kianzad seems to struggle against the higher level competition in the UFC, which I don't think Kara Hosa is like super high level, but she is good. She's shown good glimpses as far as I've seen. Can be low volume in time, but has some power in her shots. Um, Good in the clinch, knees, mixes in takedowns here and there. All of her 6 wins in the UFC are by decision. So not super powerful of a or not a super finisher, but does have power. In these women's fights, it's kind of hard to get that finish. But showed better volume in her last fight against her loss to Aldana. That was actually a pretty high output fight, but Aldana was just the cleaner, crisper striker. But not a terrible loss. I just think Karol Rosa probably has more upside. Kianzad hasn't shown me too great of anything really. The line -180 for Rosa, I don't hate it, but like you said, man, these women's MMA fights can go either way. But my pick is gonna be Karol Rosa by decision. Just think she's probably gonna be better everywhere, better striker, can hold her own on the ground. So yeah, give me Rosa by decision. Not too crazy of a take on this fight.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same. Like Pat said, Rosa, she's a good black belt. She won some tournaments in Nogi, BJJ. She's adopted more of like a Muay Thai striking stance since coming into MMA. She is pretty good, honestly, in striking. She's tough. She can take a punch. Her 3 losses that she had were to very credible competition. Wasn't just no name bums coming off the regional scene or anything. Kianzad 16-8, 5-5 in the UFC. She's pretty big and strong for the division. She comes forward with big shots. 13 of her 16 wins are by decision, so she's not really dominant anywhere. She just does what she needs to do, to make it through a fight. Her takedown defense is fucking terrible. She got submitted by a striker her last time out in Macy Chasson. So I'm not putting much time into this breakdown or this pick, to be honest with you, because it's a low level women's matchup, and what's the point in putting in all that time when it doesn't matter anyways because it's a coin flip. So with all that being said, I think that Karol's jiu-jitsu threat and the fact that her striking is getting better and looks good, and the fact that she's so tough, I'm going to go with her. So just simple logic of I like her ability to end a fight if she needs to, and Penny Kianzad just hasn't showed me that. So give me Karol Rosa. Next fight, we have Chepe Mariscal versus Damon Action Jackson. So
Banger.
Chepe is 16-6, 3-0 in the UFC. He is an action-packed fighter who always finds a way to make his fights exciting, even if it's a decision win. His debut was the fight of the night against Trevor Peak. He has a really smooth striking and good power in his punches. His takedown defense is a little suspect, but even when he gets taken down, he fights to get back up. He never settles on his back or just accepts positions. He seems to have good cardio too, winning 2 decisions out of his last 3 fights. And on the other side, he is fighting Damon Jackson, who is 23-6-1, 6-4-1 in the UFC. Damon is a pressure style wrestler who constantly just wants to come forward. He's improved his striking, but he's not out here impressing anyone with it. It's not like you're going to be like, damn, that was a clean 1-2 or anything like that. He is tough, though, but he's also very hittable. He's someone you can outstrike, but if you go to the ground, you're in trouble because 15 of his 23 wins are by submission. This fight is just the classic striker versus grappler matchup, in my opinion. Damon is going to be miles ahead on the ground, but will be outclassed on the feet by Chepe. I think Chepe is good enough. I think his takedown defense is good enough that if he gets down, he's not going to accept it. He'll try to get back up. He'll scramble good. He won't be held down by Damon, I don't think. I think he's going to piece him up when it comes to being on the feet. Probably wins another decision, but I could also see him catching Damon Jackson with like a good little combo, a good little, left straight, right hook, something like that stuns Damon because he has been put away. That chin has been rocked. So give me Chepe Mariscal. The official pick's going to be by decision. I'll probably play that TKO decision prop, double chance prop. I like the line. I don't know what the line is right off the top of my head on this. I'll have to look real quick. But I think Chepe is one of the safer picks on this card just because I think, he's at he's minus 265. So probably won't play that money line, but I'll definitely look at props for him. What do you think?
Yeah, I hate underrating Damon Jackson because it always seems to bite me in my ass.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely not. I'm not sleeping on Damon Jackson. His wrestling is very fucking dominant, and he doesn't stop.
Just looking at all the prelims, man, this fight card really is ass.
Yeah. It's terrible
compared to what we've had.
Yeah.
But this fight kind of gives it some life.
Right.
Chepe fights are always exciting. He's gonna walk forward. He's gonna pressure. Like you say, he's hard to hold down. So I really don't see Damon Jackson having success just, with his wrestling. I feel like it's probably going to end up being a striking match. Damon Jackson does have 15 career subs, but only 2 in the UFC out of his 6 wins. And Chepe's never been subbed in his whole career. So junkyard dog is, finish him or get grinded out type of fighter. Yeah. Like if you don't get Chepe out of there, then he's going
to have a 4-inch.
Definitely going to be the longer, taller fighter. And Damon Jackson's got solid cardio. Striking definitely could improve, like you said. He's kind of subpar on the feet. Chepe is going to be better just in the pocket, exchanging. His clinch game is solid. Elbows, knees. I mean, he really is a junkyard dog.
Yeah.
My pick is going to be Chepe. I just think he's not going to get held down by Jackson. With me saying that, he's probably going to get held down by Jackson. Because every time I went against Jackson in his last fight against Alexander Hernandez, and
same
broke my parlay. He was actually Hernandez was the last leg of my parlay, and Damon Jackson broke my heart. And I'm a fan of Damon Jackson. Super good wrestling, good back takes. But yeah, it's hard for me to bet or pick against Chepe from what I've saw so far in the UFC. So yeah, give me Chepe, and I'd say by decision because Damon Jackson's tough himself. But yeah, in the next fight we got
Allan Jafel Filho.
Another solid fight. Main card is actually pretty decent, but those prelims are super ass. Terrible. And this super early breakdown too. I mean, we just finished watching Sandhagen Nurmagomedov card like a couple hours ago. So super early reads on these. Just to let y'all know.
Every Saturday or every Sunday normally, but we're a day early.
Facts. We're doing this a day early because just some scheduling issues. But just to let y'all know, these are super early reads. Allan Nascimento 2-1 in UFC versus Jafel Filho 2-1 in UFC as well. 2 super good BJJ practitioners. Allan Nascimento, Muay Thai and BJJ black belt. Super solid. I mean, trains out of shoot box. Super big for the division. Good takedowns. Never been subbed, but has 15 career subs. So 15-0 to the sub. Sub Carlos Hernandez, and I believe what his was his last fight, and I think that's a good sub to me because Carlos Hernandez just showed that he has some super good grappling transitions, and he's a hard guy to
Yeah.
sub. So that's a super good win to me. Split decision loss to Tagir. I mean, that's a good loss to me. High level competition, Dagestani guy. So not too bad of a loss there. On the other side, we got Jafel Filho. Only loss in the UFC was to Muhammad Makayev, who just got cut, unfortunately, but another high level guy, undefeated. Did have show some good stuff in that fight. Almost knee barred Makayev.
Yeah, he
Damn
ripped
near.
his knee up.
Yeah, he
tore his knee up.
tore his knee. I believe he hyperextended his knee. Coming off 2 first round subs. So definitely has a sub bag, but I don't see him subbing Nascimento in this fight. He actually has 2 sub losses himself. So if anybody's getting sub, I see him getting subbed. But his last fight was Ode Osborne, but the fight before that was getting touched up bad on the feet by Daniel Perez. Getting killed to the body. Ended up weathering the storm and getting a sub late in that first round afterwards. So shows he got some dog in him, but I don't see him weathering the storm against Nascimento. I see Nascimento probably being better everywhere this fight goes, on the feet, on the ground. So this is a pretty easy pick for me. I'm gonna go with Shootbox's own Allan Nascimento, and I want to say by finish. I'm not sure how KO sub, but if I gotta go official pick, I'll go Nascimento by sub. What do you think?
Honestly, I pretty much agree with everything you said. Allan, he is 2-1 in the UFC, wild grappler, 15 submission wins. Trains with Charles Oliveira at Diego Lima Shoot Box. Good at grappling and wrestling. His striking isn't up to the level of his grappling and wrestling, but it's still decent enough. It's that kind of wild striking that you see from all of those guys that train out of that gym.
Good leg kicks.
Very good hard leg kicks. Has good cardio. He doesn't give up on himself, even if he's down in a fight or in an unfavorable position. He still fights through it. Still tries to do what he needs to do to win a fight. Jafel is 16-3, 2-1 in the UFC. He's also a really good grappler. Like Pat said, 13 wins by submission. His striking isn't the best either, but it's like enough to get him through a fight. His only loss was to Makayev in the UFC. And he was getting the better of Makayev early in that. Like Pat said, he caught him in that knee bar, completely tore his knee up to where Makayev couldn't walk on that knee for a week or two after that. Showing pictures, that shit was all swelled out. Like he
heard it.
He messed it up. So with this being a fight between 2 grapplers, that normally means it's going to play out on the feet. Because when you get 2 wrestlers together, they kind of cancel each other's wrestling out. You see Kamaru Usman and Colby Covington, people like that. They'll stand and bang. I think that's going to happen in this fight. And I really honestly feel like when it comes down to it, like Pat said, Allan Nascimento does have the more kind of wider like array of strikes, good leg kicks, good, spinning attacks. He's just a wild guy. I would give Filho the power advantage in the hands. He's got some very big kind of looping punches that if he connects, he's a solid little dude. He's got sneaky power. This being between 2 grapplers, I don't see either one of them subbing each other. I mean, Filho has been subbed, so I guess he could be the one, like Pat said, if there's a sub. But we haven't been on the opposite sides of picks this whole card yet. So I'm going to take the underdog in this. I'm going to go with Filho just because I think if it comes down to it, Nascimento, I like him a lot as a fighter, but he leaves himself open from the fights that I went back and watched. When he is throwing those wild strikes, throwing those leg kicks, his hands are down by his waist. And I feel like Filho is the type that he's shown in fights. He'll eat a punch to kind of get in the pocket and land one on you and try to exchange or try to clinch up, try to get to that grappling. So just to kind of make it interesting and to take, my first underdog of the card, give me Jafel Filho, and we'll chalk it up as our split decision on the board.
And just an extra point to make, which I forgot. In that Jake Hadley fight, Allan was attacking the body, super crazy with his legs. Like I said, in that Perez fight, Filho was getting killed to the body, and his striking defense is kind of super subpar. He doesn't show a lot of defense on the feet, so I could also see a TKO by Nascimento if the grappling, like you said, does kind of cancel each other out. I just think Nascimento's the way better striker.
There you go. Get that off your chest. So the next fight, we got Jarno Errens and Youssef Zalal. So Errens is 14-5-1, 1-2 in the UFC. He's a tough fighter from a kickboxing background. He was fed to a couple tough prospects early on, but got a win against a contender series debut his last time out. He has good output, mixes up his kicks and punches well. He's been to a decision in all 3 UFC fights, so he has good cardio and doesn't stop coming forward literally the whole fight. Youssef Zalal is also 14-5-1, but he's 4-3 in the UFC. His 3 losses are all to just respectful ass people. He lost to Ilya, who is the champ. He lost to Sung Woo Choi, who is a good vet, and he lost to the long, rangy, tall ass Sean Woodson, who, let's be honest, he shouldn't even be down there at featherweight. He trains in Denver, so his cardio is solid as fuck. He has a good Muay Thai striking style with that BJJ background. He moves really well and keeps good range. Really good with his counter strikes, all that. I'm going to keep it short and sweet. This fight has the potential to be fight of the night, in my opinion, because both of these guys are dogs. They like to fight. They like to go into the fire. They both are highly capable on the feet and on the ground. I'd probably give the cardio advantage and the finishing ability edge to Zalal. So that's who I'm going to ride with. I think Youssef Zalal is just more explosive, more hungry, with more ways to win the fight. He is going to be the shorter fighter by 1 inch, but he is going to have a 2-inch reach advantage. So give me Youssef Zalal. I'm going to say more than likely by decision because Jarno Errens is tough, but it wouldn't surprise me if he finds a way to get a finish. What do you think?
Yeah, Zalal is super good, man. I've rewatched that Ilya Topuria fight. He actually won that 3rd round against Topuria.
Ilya was definitely gassing in that third.
Made Ilya work in all the grappling exchanges as well. Has super good sub escapes. Can mix in TD takedowns himself and sub attempts here and there. Good kicks, good knees. Super good at just angling off on the feet and using his footwork. On the other side, Jarno Errens, only 1-2 in the UFC, is coming off a 30-27 win against Stephen Gwynn as an underdog. So kind of outperformed his price there. And winning a 30-27 on all cards, so super outperformed his price there. Good solid combos and heavy hands in his striking. Only 28% takedown defense. And against Zalal, who can mix it up, gives Zalal another route to go if he's, kind of losing on the feet. Could probably mix in some takedowns. He gave up 8 minutes of control time against William Gomez, and William Gomez is a kickboxer. Kickboxer.
Yeah, he ain't no wrestler.
Yeah, so if you're getting taken down and controlled by Gomez, then that says something. Yeah, pretty short and sweet. I'm gonna go Zalal as well. Just think he's more overall the better fighter, probably everywhere it goes. But like I said, Errens does have some heavy hands and a decent chin, and puts together solid combos on the feet. So Youssef Zalal with that kind of hands down moving striking style that he has, could see him getting clipped by something heavy if he's not safe. But yeah, my pick is gonna be Youssef Zalal, and I think he just wins the decision here.
Just trying to look, he is a -280 favorite in that fight. Youssef Zalal is. Those, I think that's personally high for him being 27-year-old, still kind of green in the UFC. But
I was about to say Zalal, he actually got cut from the UFC, then re-signed.
Yeah,
and came in against Billy Quarantillo and got that sub.
right.
But yeah, I see him winning a decision if you want some value on that line instead of playing at -280.
So you got Javid Basharat, Chris Gutierrez next.
This is a good fight.
Banger.
Good stylistic matchup. Javid Basharat 3-1 in the UFC against Chris Gutierrez 8-3-1 in the UFC. So Gutierrez is definitely going to hold that experience edge as far as UFC competition. They both utilize that kicking range super well. They both want to stay out the end of them kicks and just kind of stay at range and kind of point fight. I would say the wrestling and grappling edge would go to Javid, but in that Zahabi fight, just didn't really look too good. Couldn't get the takedowns, but that is Ayman Zahabi. He got decent takedown defense. It was a negative 900 favorite in that fight.
Insane.
Got kind of exposed in that spot, which I don't know if Javid was kind of overvalued there or if Zahabi was just kind of undervalued.
I think people were really underestimating Zahabi.
Yeah. And Javid was kind of struggling with him on the feet as well, which usually we see Javid kind of having his way on the feet with people.
Right.
I think Javid's going to have better hands. Chris Gutierrez, like I said, utilizes his kicks super well. They both do, but I would give the edge there to Gutierrez as far as leg kicks and just using those kicks. I think Javid probably wants to get on the inside and use his hands a little bit more here and be the better boxer, potentially mixing some takedowns. Chris Gutierrez has only lost to, ranked higher level guys like Pedro Munoz, Song Yadong. I mean,
solid competition.
Yeah, super solid competition. So I'd say this is a step up for Basharat, even probably higher of a step up than his last fight.
Way higher.
But stylistically, it's a decent matchup for him. I'm going to go Basharat in this fight. I just think he can mix in takedowns if he wants to. Can probably hold his own on the feet as well, but Chris Gutierrez is not a dog to sleep on, man. And negative 215 on Javid. I don't love laying the juice on in this predicament. Maybe potentially a decision prop on him. I love them decision props. But overall, my pick is going to be Javid Basharat. Just think he has more ways to get it done. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm not going to waste much time on this fight because Pat pretty much covered it. Javid is very well-rounded, 3-1. His last time out, he did lose to Zahabi, but Zahabi comes from a big family of just MMA coaches and masterminds and all that. His brother is Zahabi, who used to work with GSP and used to train with GSP out of Canada, one of his main coaches. But Javid is 5 knockouts, 6 subs, 3 decisions. So he's really well-rounded. Like, he can take the fight anywhere it needs to be. His fight IQ did get exposed a little bit in that last fight just because he couldn't seem to figure out, I'm not having any luck on the feet with Zahabi. Let me try to take it down. He couldn't. Zahabi was just a better wrestler than him. He was just, it seemed like he had more IQ on the night. He just did better.
Was getting outstruck too.
Yeah, he was getting pieced up behind that jab. He doesn't seem to have one punch power, Javid Basharat, but he will put volume on someone. And especially if they're hurt, he'll do enough to where he can pour the volume on to
and
where
just get like a ref stoppage or something.
Feels like he needs to step in and save you. But like Pat said, on the other side, Chris Gutierrez is very well-rounded. He's been around a while. He's 8-3-1 in the UFC. Very flashy style striker with just insane kicks. He'll eat you up with some kicks. And that's definitely where you don't want to be with Chris Gutierrez. You don't want to be in his kicking range. You want to, if you're going to do anything and have any success with him, you've got to crowd him inside that pocket. You cannot just stand there and think that you're going to tit for tat because Chris's kicks are wild. And he can hit them from deep. He's very good with them. Front kicks, side kicks, leg kicks, body kicks. I mean, he mixes them up well. He doesn't like to fight in the pocket. He loses to people who force him to. Grappling wise, he's not really the best grappler. Song Yadong, I'm pretty sure, was having luck with trying to take him down or grapple him, if I'm remembering right. But Chris Gutierrez does win fights where his opponents let him stay in that kicking range and just kind of try to match his striking. So this fight is a big step up in experience for Javid, but I think his fighting style is the style that gives Chris the most trouble. But if Javid starts to fight slow and loses round 1, he's going to have a hard time trying to get that back in round 2 to to where, you know, he's coming out behind, and then he's got to try to rack it up, because then at that point I feel like he's going to be trying to get the big shots at that point, trying to, you know, get it back tit for tat. You don't want to do that.
Which Javid usually comes out with a pretty decent pace.
He's pretty. He does start pretty good. But I trust that he's still improving his game, especially off, you know, that loss last time. So give me Javid by decision. But I could honestly see like a sneaky submission too, like him grab like a submission if he's got Chris hurt, or Chris tries to, you know, mess around and like he gets stunned by something, tries to clinch up. I could see a wild exchange. So the next fight is the main event of this shitty little card. We got Marcin Tybura versus Sergey Spivac. Marcin is 25-8, 12-7 in the UFC. He's a tough Polish fighter with good boxing. He's pretty durable unless he's fighting the top of the top in, you know, the heavyweight division. He has pretty good cardio, somewhat good takedown defense. Has a good footwork for heavyweight. Good hands. His hands are pretty fast, and he seems to have pretty decent fight IQ. On the other side, he's fighting Sergey Spivac, who is 16-4, 7-4 in the UFC. One of his 4 losses was to Tybura back in 2020, where he lost a decision. Since that loss, he's went 6-2, only losing to Tom Aspinall and Cyril Gahn, and he's beat Derek Lewis in that span. So not a bad little run since then. He's a big Russian wrestler with subpar striking. His striking's good enough for you to think he wants to stand and bang and strike, and that he's not going to try to wrestle you. And then boom, next thing you know, he's rushing in to try to clinch up with you. He's not the blast double Russian wrestling type. He's more of a tries to kind of overwhelm you with volume, get in close, get you against the fence, clinch you, either get a trip there or a hip toss, something like that. He's more that style Russian wrestler. This fight's tricky just because Tybura has beat him before, so he can again, right? But Sergey has improved a lot since then. That was 2020. It's been 4 years. Sergey has improved his hand since then. Back then, he was literally just wrestling or bust type of guy. But in that same kind of mindset, so is Tybura. Tybura has improved too since 2020. And yeah, he got knocked out by Tom Aspinall, but it's Tom. Like, come on now. He's doing that to everybody. I think Tybura will have the striking and cardio edge, where Sergey's going to have the size and strength advantage. So I think this fight, honestly, is a coin flip, but I can see, you know, a world where they both win in their respective ways, where Sergey somehow gets a takedown, gets on top of him, finds his finish, whether it's ground and pound or sub. I could see also a world where Tybura stuffs the takedowns or doesn't let him get close and just pieces him apart, you know, with good cardio and good range. But at the end of the night, it's still a sloppy heavyweight fight, let's be honest. So my pick, give me Tybura again. I'm going to go by decision or like a late round TKO if Sergey's kind of gassed and gets clipped with something. But yeah, give me Tybura. What do you think? Tybura is also the underdog. I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but he is the I'm pretty sure the slight underdog right now.
I was about to say they're lying the exact same that they was whenever they fought in 2020.
Yeah, Tybura is minus 106 to Spivac's minus 120. Yeah,
minus 120. Spivac was minus 120 in the last fight, and got beat every single round. Got controlled, got taken down and controlled, which I think Spivac has improved since then. First to sub Derek Lewis since Daniel Cormier.
Yeah.
Back in the day. So, and shit, Jelton Almeida couldn't even fucking sub Derek Lewis. So definitely improving, definitely a good grappler. Only losses since is Aspinall and Gahn, so respectable losses. Marcin Tybura, only losses since are Alexander Volkov and also Aspinall, so both respectable, top of the division losses. And I went back and watched that first fight. Tybura literally won every single round. Took him down and controlled him in the first round. Kind of got some cage pushes, got a back take in the second round. I mean, was completely out grappling Sergey Spivac. And Spivac was actually landing the cleaner, harder shots on the feet. So it's hard for me to call because I feel like Spivac wants this win back. But they line the exact same way that they was back then, and Tybura got it done pretty dominantly. And Sergey really had nothing off his back in that fight. Every time Marcin would take him down, he kind of just accepted the bottom position. So I hate to do it, but I think we're on the same side. I wanted to go split decision in the main, but my mind just telling me Tybura. I mean, like I said, he won every single round in that first fight, and was taking him down, controlling him, kind of having his way with him. Something tells me Spivac has improved and possibly is going to make adjustments in this fight, but I can't really count on that. So yeah, give me Marcin Tybura. And in 5 rounds, the last fight was 3 rounds, so it's hard to tell how their cardio is gonna, how their cardio is gonna look, especially 2 sloppy heavyweights.
I think that's where Tybura, being the smaller, lighter fighter, I think that's gonna really play in his advantage, especially for that 5 rounds.
Facts. So yeah, give me Tybura, and give me Tybura by decision in the main event. I think it just makes sense. I mean, they're lying the exact same fucking way. That don't make sense to me. You would think he would be like a small favorite or something, considering they've already seen this fight play out. It kind of makes me.
I think it's one of those things, just like the Curtis Blades and Aspinall kind of lining, where they're looking at their career trajectories and seeing that Spivac's had the better, since they last fought, has had the better path of 6 wins. His only losses to super good competition in Cyril Gane and Tom Aspinall, whereas Tybura has kind of had back and forth. I don't know.
I mean, still only losses for Tybura since that fight is Volkov and Aspinall. So I mean, decent, respectable losses as well.
But
so I don't really understand
Volkov
that line.
to Cyril Gane, who's the better loss to have? Definitely Cyril Gane in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I think that's why it's lined like that.
But either way, yeah, give me Tybura. And I fucking feel like a bum because I didn't take any dogs in this fucking fight.
Yeah, you did. Chelsea Chandler's a dog right now. I didn't know that until I went back and looked. She's a minus 104.
Okay, small dog.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes me feel a little bit better.
Yeah. But we only got 1 split decision on the whole card, though. So
Filho,
at least
and
this week.
Allan Nascimento. Yep. Decent main card. Prelims are kind of fucking ass, but you get these cards every once in a while where Dana just gotta throw some shit together and put them in the apex.
Well, that's because the exact week after we got UFC 305. And that card is stacked top to bottom, so that's going to be one that I'm really going to enjoy going through, doing the film study, us breaking it down and talking about it. I've been looking forward to that. This card, terrible. When I had to go back and watch the fights, look up the stats, do all that, terrible. I hated it.
A lot of these fighters are kind of low level.
Right.
Not a lot of sample sizes in the UFC to go back and look at, but
right.
But as far as it goes, I mean, should be some decent fights on here. Yeah. But we appreciate y'all stepping in. Episode 10.
Is this 10 or is it 11 now?
Man, I think this is episode 10.
Yep, 10. So
yeah, this has been episode 10 of the Split Decisions podcast. I'm Patrick.
And I'm Justin.
And we appreciate y'all stepping in, and hopefully y'all enjoy this fantastic fight night card.
Top of the top, creme de la creme. See you for 305.
Yes, sir.